Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today we're going to be sitting down again with Jayne, talking about the recent PTR Pro Pugs that happened last week, getting his analysis and breakdown of certain heroes that he feels are going to come into the meta in a very big fashion, where Ashe can be really good in the game, and just reviewing this balance patch as a whole. The Tournament of Future Champions will be happening as this video goes out. This is something that Jayne is working on at the moment. It's a tournament with a hero ban system and a hero protect system, so if you want to see how that works, it will literally be going on as this video goes live, so be sure not to miss it, twitch.tv/Jayne. But before you go check that out, Jayne has some really important stuff that he wants to mention, and without further ado, let's get started. Last Friday you had a bit of a show match almost with some of the Overwatch League pro players playing on the PTR. There was a lot of stuff there. We saw GOATs, obviously, like and stuff like Rialto and Kings Row. That composition was still being used. Lots of bits and pieces, but what heroes caught your eye? What were you like, ooh, I like that, that seems interesting, in terms of compositions or just a hero being used in a certain way that really surprised you?
So in the Pro Pugs, of course, there was like a lot of GOATs, but there was also a couple compositions and at times where they attempted to run kind of like 3 DPS or 4 DPS. And you've seen this, I think Stormquake was the first one to run it on Route 66 defense, where they did kind of like an Orisa solo tank and quad DPS, and it worked pretty well. It actually did manage to hold for a pretty significant amount of time against a GOAT's composition. But when you are kind of looking at the Orisa solo tank, like Orisa got buffed, and you know, with Orisa and Roadhog both getting buffs based on these armor changes, you're probably going to see more of those guys in ranked. But Hammond in particular got a pretty massive buff that kind of flew under the radar here, in that against armor, Hammond does 40% more damage, which is absolutely insane. So he's way better at stripping armor off targets in that like long-range poking phase, which is a playstyle that pros already used. Another character that got buffed from this is going to be Zarya. Zarya, a character, like the rally changes, you know, she's gonna be a lot less powerful with the armor not sitting underneath her shield. But in terms of the tanks that don't have armor to begin with, you know, the Roadhog, the Wrecking Ball, the Zarya, their relative tankiness has been increased. Zarya is going to be doing more damage against armored targets, charging gravitons faster, as well as kind of being tankier compared to her armored counterparts. So you're getting these really kind of unique compositions where Hammond is going to be really strong, and you're also, and like going back to the thing I was saying earlier about how GOATs is probably still going to be a thing in the short term, when you're looking at like the number of professional players who are competent on Hammond, like there's a few that are okay, or they're serviceable on the hero. But these pro players have been playing Winston and Reinhardt for like 2 years, and you're still getting people who are saying that X Pro is good at Reinhardt but bad at Winston. So we also just, not only have we not had enough time for teams as a whole to find and play and practice these compositions that defeat GOATs, but we haven't had Wrecking Ball powerful enough, in the meta enough, long enough for pro players themselves to get to the point on the hero that they are with Reinhardt and Winston. But Hammond and Zarya both received quite a few buffs. I think that Hammond is really, really underutilized right now, and I hope that kind of the few times we saw him, especially on Busan with like that Wrecking Ball quad DPS, I hope we see more instances like that in the future. And I think it won't happen right away, but I think in a couple months you'll definitely start to see some unique Wrecking Ball compositions make it to the forefront.
It was used in a China semi-final too. I think it's T1W that played it. Yeah, Hammond's like quad DPS, very divey. Like, people look at it as like winners and losers, but I do feel that Hammond is certainly one of the heroes that benefits the most. Doesn't necessarily make him the best hero out there right now, but from a hero that didn't really have a role in the game, a use other than just being used in a couple of compositions, he might now find his feet for the first time ever, really, for that hero.
Absolutely. And of course, the other heroes that he works well with got buffed as well. So of course, Sombra got between 18 to 25% increased damage. Tracer gets more damage when dealing headshots. Pharah no longer has to work so hard to try and strip the armor off targets like Zenyatta. So you're getting a lot of these characters that work really well with Hammond being indirectly buffed at the same time that Hammond got indirectly buffed. There are enough kind of aftershocks of this patch to make me think that, goats will still be played, but at a lower power level. But there's a lot of kind of indirect buffs that all happen to land on the characters and the compositions that do really well, and people have already attempted to use as counters to goats compositions.
Double Sniper, whilst people are speculating at this point, people believe that Double Sniper might come back in a big way if goats does, push off the radar. First and foremost, why is it that people believe that? I think you'd be better explaining that than I am. And then, what do you think of Ashe at this point? Do you think that she'll sit into that comp, or does she suit other kind of playstyles and compositions?
So, I'm not sure about the double sniper thing. It's definitely one of the possible compositions. We even saw it being run. Team UK ran double sniper at the World Cup, so it's not a composition that's dead. Snipers, especially in the hands of pro players, are extremely powerful characters. But with D.Va being nerfed, the first thing that kind of people think about is that D.Va is a character that controls high grounds and just completely dumpsters on hit scan. So, the terror of D.Va is one of the main things that makes both snipers and other hit scans very difficult to play. So I think that most people are thinking that double sniper is coming back into the meta because of the D.Va changes. Yeah, so Ashe is another great character who kind of is a iteration on the character that they're based on. So when we were talking about Reinhardt, was basically the king of shield tanks and absolutely required. And then they brought out an Orisa, which was kind of serving the similar purpose, but in a different way. Ashe is the same thing for Widowmaker. So you're kind of getting this nice middle ground between McCree and Widowmaker is what you have with Ashe. So McCree is going to be a little bit better against dive, whereas the Widowmaker is better at longer ranges and can also be used against goats, because if you just straight up delete a support from the opponent's composition, then, well, it doesn't really matter how much healing they have. So Ashe is in that nice middle ground, is that she's a little bit more resilient against dive with her coach gun, with her dynamite, and then she still has the ability to fight at longer ranges. With a mercy pocket or a discord on a target, she can one-shot with headshots. And then she's also, the greatest thing about Ashe there is that her dynamite and Bob in particular are both really, really good against fighting grouped up targets and contesting points. So Ashe is really nice in areas where you can kind of defend first point 2 CP. So think about Hanamura, where the opponent can scout what you have and then decide to go either dive or goats composition. So if you're playing a Widowmaker on defense, Hanamura A, for example, the opponent can go dive your Widowmaker, win the fight. If you're going McCree, because you know that this opponent likes to play dive, they scout, they're like, oh, they're playing McCree, then they go on to goats and just run onto the point and cap. So in a situation like that, where if you have a McCree or you have a Widowmaker, the opponent can easily counter you, going Ashe can give you the best of both worlds. So if you're on Ashe and they dive you, well, you can, coach gun out of the way, you can use your dynamite on flankers, and if they're having goats compositions, then you can just throw the dynamite into all of them, build up your Bob, and then put your Bob on the point, not just to kind of put out a lot of damage and to soak up cooldowns, but also just to make sure that the point is being contested while the rest of your team tries to find a pick. So her versatility in fighting a large amount of compositions is what makes her so strong. And I believe, just thinking about it now, I think that Fusion University, didn't they run Ashe exactly on the defense of first point Hanamura?
Ooh, I don't know. They would have had the option because it was played on a patch that Ashe was in the game, but I didn't see it for myself.
I think right now, remembering it, that I saw a highlight of Snillo playing Ashe on defense Hanamura. So I hope I'm right. but that would be pretty cool.
Perfect explanation if you get it right then. I guess finally then, because we've spoken about this at quite some length, both about the general PTR patch and then what we've seen and experienced. Of course, you've no doubt tried this with Dallas Fuel, but you're still scrimming, so like still a lot of stuff to work out. But I guess if there's one major theme that you want to get across to people, because there's a lot of people kind of just spouting shit, let's face it. There's a lot of people that aren't quite sure what's going to happen, either saying that D.Va's going to completely die, or people saying that D.Va's still going to be as good as she was before, Double Sniper coming back, Goat's still the same. What do you feel is probably the most important thing that people can take from this patch, and how it's going to transition into the live game, into the Overwatch League, into the future?
I think the biggest takeaway that people can have from this patch is just don't expect a miracle overnight. Blizzard is moving in the right direction. You know, they might be moving slower than you want, but big dramatic changes are things that kind of come up with unexpected consequences and will just destroy the game further, you know, if it isn't in a balanced state. So, you know, accept that it's going to take a little bit while for the pros to figure out how to play the game on the new patch, and that those changes will take even longer to filter down through ranked, or ranked will find its entirely different meta, you know, with Roadhog and Torbjorns, Bastions, and Orissas, like ranked tends to do.
Yeah.
So don't expect like a solution overnight. That was not the intent of this patch. It's just kind of baby steps in the right direction, and baby steps that should have enough of a wide sweeping impact to make the game better to both play and watch.
Do you expect that there's going to be more PTR patches in 2-3 weeks time, or do you feel like this could be it for quite some time, because Blizzard and the overall pro community believe that the answers to counter Goat's comp and move the meta on something else is in this patch somewhere, just not known yet?
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot of the pros are kind of in the situation where they're kind of sad that Goats is still a thing, you know, because they want to play DPS again. You know, cue that Surefour clip where we've been playing Goats for 6 months. But no, I'm not sure if we have all of the answers yet. I would like it. You know, I'm a huge fan of very rapid but small iterations. So I hope that Blizzard doesn't kind of like just go away and say, yeah, this is good enough, find the answer yourselves. I hope that they continually make small changes, you know, at least once a month sort of thing.
And finally, where can people find more of you? And again, what's happening this weekend? It's some pretty exciting stuff. It's the first real solid tournament that has a hero ban protect system. So one last time, where can people find more from that, and what exactly is it?
So this weekend is the Tournament of Future Champions. It's a tournament for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 scene. The best unsigned teams in North America will be going head-to-head in a tournament with hero bans. So I'll be streaming the North American version of that tournament on Saturday, and I'll be streaming the European version of that tournament on Sunday. That's the 19th and 20th of January. So I'm also in the middle of a move to LA. I'm recording this from the floor of my new apartment. So I'm not going to be streaming a lot this week, but definitely catch me this weekend, 19th and 20th, for the Tournament of Future Champions. Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
And as I said, that is happening right now, so do check it out. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. If you want more videos with Jayne, then do let us know. And until next time, take care. We'll see you next time.